Instead of invoking the icons of brilliance in our culture, the icons of brilliance, people of insight like Alan Watts or Krishnamurti, J.D. Krishnamurti, or the other Krishnamurti. I don't know why they're both called Krishnamurti. It's a little confusing. I'm going to recommend a YouTuber again. I'm going to comment a little bit about something that is now filtering through into the larger domain of awareness about our circumstances, about our how we live on this plane, how this existence actually works in some kind of meaningful way, instead of me continuously referring to peoples of brilliance who have the insight into the meaning of the universe. I'm going to draw attention to, again, actually two YouTubers that I really like. There are a few others. One is called Mr. Cat-Eye. I highly recommend Mr. Cat-Eye, not just because he is providing us with information, but what he actually is able to do is suggest, this is what he does to me, that information is secondary to a fundamental functioning of our what is that? The mechanics of what it means to be alive. He's suggesting something through his intuitive processes alive in his being. He's not an information person for me, but he's an inspiration from the point of view that he is unraveling something about the nature of our existence without giving us, even though he analyzes information, it's not about the information. And the other guy that I like, occasionally I listen to him, is Quantum of Conscience, the Matt guy. In a very humble way, he has actually arrived at an insight about our circumstances based on uncovering what appear to be lies to lead us towards some sort of a resolution. We want to come to a resolution. This feels like a sort of weekly update now. I seem to be making a video. I used to do it every other day or something, but now I'm more on a weekly basis. And I want to remind people that my basic presence, significant presence on YouTube, is basically connected to my awareness that an event called Fukushima on March 11th, 2011, this nuclear plant blew up, the greatest catastrophe in the history of what we understand to be a catastrophe, what we could relate to as being a monumental catastrophe. The oil spill in the Gulf was a major catastrophe. Not sure how that has stopped, if it's still going on or not. These are events that actually affect all life on this planet and are in that sense very important. But I've also understood there is a way of diminishing our awareness through giving us all the information. And have you ever wondered, and I'll come back to Quantum of Conscience, what it is that I think is of significance and value to me in what he is saying. He's not quite there for me in terms of having truly understood this, but he's getting toward a resolution. What is it about the facts that appear not to make any difference in anyone's day-to-day life? Now, the idea that unless it's happening to me, it's not happening, is actually part of this, of the machinations of our situation. Like if you have an idea about something, but it really doesn't apply to you, then it doesn't much matter. It's like we don't live on an ethereal plane in that sense. We have like real needs, like when the rubber hits the road kind of idea. This is existence. Like we don't really relate to a circumstance unless there is an actual significant effect on us, like physically, like our life changes physically in some way. And people that are on YouTube who are expressing outrage by giving us the information, what I'd like to say, that there are no lies when we exist in an illusion. And the idea that an illusion itself is a lie, I suppose you could say an illusion is a lie, and what quantum of conscience Matt has discovered, has understood, that fundamentally that the existence we understand to be all around us is in fact arbitrarily created or an illusion, not to say that it doesn't have a real effect on people, like in a real way. It is happening. Stuff is happening, but it is within an illusion that we have accepted. And I say there is no lie in an illusion. An illusion is a lie. So if we live in an illusion, there is no lie. So now I'm going to again iterate what I basically do through my own work, through my own understanding when I make I am an artist, primarily a painter, that also I am involved in three-dimensional objects like you see behind me here. I'm a sculptor from the point of view that I treat my paintings also as a sculptural element, which is kind of interesting. There are other artists like Jean Dubuffet who created three-dimensional objects, and he used materials similar to mine, or the materials that I'm using, but I'm doing it in a way very specific and peculiar to my own understanding about being able to express myself in the most immediate and elegant way. This is art always comes back not to the story or the subject, but how a person is able to utilize his materials, what I am able to bring to a substance and a thing like oil paint or whatever substance it is that I'm working with, and applying my own depth of understanding to that material. This is the brilliance that I find in other artists, where they have taken stuff and made it into something that has an impact on me beyond the story, beyond the subject that you see. The material itself transmits something of insight and meaning to me. It's literally like a sound hitting your ear. You don't analyze it in terms of being a certain story or anything. When you listen to some sound or a sequence of sounds or music, it has relevance to you in some form that you can't explain why you are attracted to it. I mean, there is a kind of, I suppose, the polyphony of things when you have harmonies and all that kind of stuff that works favorably on our psyche. When we listen to it, yes, this is in play, but it's still inexplicable. And in the same way, like a visual is fundamentally contains a way of transmitting itself through the material itself. It's an interesting, think about it, it's an interesting idea that you don't see any story other than the material itself is what is the power within the transmission of something is not coming from an idea, but from the physical object. This is why the physical object eliminates illusion. The illusion is literally the story or the philosophical or mental constructs that we might have around it. Like if you see this is going to be my image of what I call my Eve. She's going to be, this object will have references. The way I build it is I'm thinking, I am philosophically having an idea, and I'm going to manifest it in a physical, this is a physical object. And the object is the thing. So if we exist in an illusion, there are no lies. We are actually being part of something that exists on a level that is separated from, I guess, the real world as we would like to understand it. So here's my point. What I've been thinking about, again, what I'm going to reiterate, what I talk about over and over, the idea of the most revolutionary act that any person, given the circumstances we're in right now, with the destruction that we face, within the circumstances of this real world, which has been supplanted or which has been superimposed with illusions, what are called fake. The Trump the Trump mantra of fake news everything, the idea of that, he has exposed a level of our existence, fake, which is an illusion, but it's to his purpose. Obviously, he's injecting his own narrative into this to push whatever it is he wants to accomplish in the direction. Again, he's creating an illusion by calling out the illusion. And I'm saying, what is the most revolutionary act that anyone could perpetrate against something that is so fundamentally dysfunctional? And I'm referring to Matt from Quantum of Conscience. He says introspection. Introspection is, as far as I'm going to say, a revolutionary act. That for a person to be introspective or self-critical or self-understanding, not what's going on out there, but what's going on in there. So when we get to the level, and this is very important to me as a painter, an artist, that I create objects that express a level of introspection. And I think that the greatest art for me has always had this powerful element of me understanding that another person has really reflected and thought deeply about something. And it's not just blah, 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 Alan Watts, Krishnamurti, blah, 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 Jung, Freud, Nietzsche. I don't care who you want to bring up, but it actually is represented in a physical object that transmits, or like I feel about music, is the highest form of an expression that has the most direct access to that inner self. We cannot filter music out the way we can filter anything else out. I don't know why that is. It just is that way. Music is the greatest art form. And especially the voice singing is, for me, the greatest expression, artistic expression that we have available to us. So, the revolutionary act that I encourage, I endorse, I talk about all the time is this level of introspection. And without that, we are lost, because we're continuously subject to the illusion. And there are no lies in the illusion, which is why all the truth and all the truthers that are out there are having minimal or zero effect, because it's not confirmed with the physical object. So just to throw out ideas, we've been told that ideas are magnificent. It's everything. It's like there was an artist called Kostabi, and he said, ideas are a dime a dozen, and he hired people and he paid them a dime for 12 ideas. It's clever. He's another one of those charlatans. He kind of disappeared. He's working in Italy. Apparently, he has great following in Italy. I don't know why that is. Maybe his art is tied to spaghetti. I'm not sure what it is that attracts Italians to Kostabi art. But here's my point. I don't want to drag this out too long. 13 minutes. What my idea about overcoming the obvious, the real world, which to me is very dysfunctional. What is it that I will contribute to actually being able to alter definitely in my own life, and then possibly in the other life forms, other people? What is it that I have to do? And that is to fundamentally function on an introspection, on a self-reflection. Now here's the point that leads me where? And this is where quantum hasn't quite caught up, but I think he's going to do it. I think he's getting closer and closer and closer on what it is that will alter the way we are conducting ourselves. He is actually coming really close. And what is that introspection that will fundamentally shift the path that we're on into something that is always called sustainable, right? It's always those mantras that are thrown out there, sustainable development, all this kind of stuff. It's a bunch of hooey, because it's just an idea that, again, can manipulate vulnerable minds who don't want to look at themselves, but always be continuously in the headlights in that domain that is out there, that great domain that can keep you preoccupied with everything that has no value, no real value to you or me. Money obviously is a huge thing, and gratification, self-gratification, but this very deep reflection about who I am will actually allow me to make something that physically represents, this is the great division, physically represents that what I am. This is an incredible concept when I think about this, that you can actually represent yourself in some physical way that is not just spectacle or irrelevant posturing on some level, which is most of the art that is being produced is irrelevant posturing and spectacle. It doesn't matter because there is no introspection, this very important aspect. Now, just to finish this off now, I recommend you listen to Quantum of Consciousness. I'm going to put a link on it. He talks about this. And I like it because it's just an ordinary person sensing, realizing that somewhere he's becoming more connected to that which he is thinking, meaning that he has now abandoned the idea fundamentally of exposing the bastards in the truth movement, because there is no truth in an illusion. You're continuously exposing something more. You're saying something about yourself which feeds the illusion without breaking the path that you're on. But through the introspection, where do we end up? Where does that go? Where does it go from me? Where does this process that happens that is of meaning to me and possibly someone else? And it always ends up in the same spot. That in order to be truly original, an original in the sense that without being, I guess for lack of a better word, totally yourself, which is original, but we all share something, and that is what I've always said. We actually have a choice. We can choose. Always we can choose. And this is the great danger we present to this amorphous, gigantic illusion that's out there. The illusion fundamentally relies on us not choosing. So as we truly find something within ourselves, what are the choices that I have to actually realize something within myself? I represent it in my work. This is very important. I'm saying to people, it is very important to represent that inner reflection in some way in what we understand to be the real world. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a work of art. It can be acts, for example, acts of kindness, something that we are able to do in the real world that represents something of us that is truly original, which is our ability to choose. And now here's the crux. Not just we can choose, but choose the right thing. How do we choose the right thing? And people dance on this pin and they argue. And I was listening to a very smart woman talking about Jung and understanding archetypes and the shadow part of us and the external shadow and the inner shadow and all of this, blah, 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 blah. Fundamentally, you and I can choose every day to do the right thing. And you don't dance on a pin on this one. There is a right way and a wrong way, because we have something within us that I call conscience, that others have agreed to call conscience, for lack of a better word, that gives us an incredible power. We are incredibly powerful in this. This is so misunderstood. We always think of power as like, punching someone out and giving them a black eye or killing them even, or taking over. And that's not the power. The greatest power is to be connected through introspection, self-reflection, to do the right thing every day. And it has to be represented in something physical. And when Quantum of Conscience, Matt says, we need to have this inner reflection going on, but to what end, right? To what end? It's not enough just to say, okay, you need to have inner reflection. It has to manifest itself. It has to come out in a physical form. That's what I'm saying, which is why I make art. And people say, well, it's irrelevant because it's not out there. That's another story. The mere fact of me exercising my ability on this level of making art, that it's connected to this reflection, this inner reflection, not about how I will manipulate anything out there, which is the present art spectacle, but how I change myself. This is crucial, how we change ourselves. And this is quite exciting to me from the point of view that the idea, the misdeeds, the psychotic misdeeds of the destruction that we are now in, the abuse of vulnerable creatures, all life, children, especially children, how they're being abused every day by people to gratify themselves. These are all things that will change radically because we'll peripheralize the people that are engaging in this destructive activity, because I still have faith in a humanity that is fundamentally capable of collectively doing the right thing. And it needs to be manifested in something real. I think I covered, it always gets a bit longer now. Anyway, that's my idea. The pedants of truth who are continuously exposing the truth on YouTube, do you see how irrelevant it is? Because the illusion is part of the idea of truth. Truth and illusion go together. And the more people are expressing their outrage at the bastards, it is just part of that illusion. Without introspection and changing one's own life, it has no effect whatsoever. Just another thought. My weekly updates. My weekly updates on the nature of the nature of our cosmos, the nature of the space that is not out there. Another part of the illusion that has been created, that we live on some kind of a ball reality. And I'm not going to say it is or it isn't. I'm just saying that all the constructs around us are literally part of this illusion that Matt has finally understood, has unraveled for him. But where do we end up? Once we have uncovered this illusion, where do we go with that? And how do we get strength from not knowing? Because I don't know. I don't exactly know. There are theories, there are ideas of what it is that our existence actually is, how we are actually functioning. There are ideas I have I could go into, I might, but I prefer to deal with this on the level of introspection. The only way we can actually come to a resolution on this, and the introspection must lead to us doing the right thing every day.